Hi everyone, my name is Julia and I'm a physical therapist at Breakthrough. I'm here today with some mobility stretches for swimmers. So if you're experiencing shoulder pain as a swimmer, it's because swimming is a very repetitive activity, overhead, requires a lot of full range of that shoulder. And so some of these mobility stretches are going to work on your shoulder mobility itself. However, in general, our shoulder is pretty mobile. We can move it in a lot of planes of motion. So we're also going to look at some mobility in other areas of the body, like the thoracic spine, so that upper and mid back. So for all those, all the strokes, every stroke you do, you need some thoracic extension, as well as with like backstroke and freestyle, you're going to need some of that thoracic rotation as well, so we'll work on that. And then we're also going to work on some overhead stretching for the shoulder, some stretching for the shoulder itself, and then we're going to add some bonus stretches at the end for a couple of the kicks that you might encounter when you're swimming. Okay? So for these stretches, you're going to need a bench, a foam roller, or a yoga mat or a rolled up towel. So the first one is going to be down on the ground. It's going to be a thoracic spine open book. So you're going to lay on your side, knees bent up to keep your lower back stable. Arms out in front of you, and then lower your shoulders away from your ears. And we're just gonna, it's a thoracic spine rotation open book. So you're just gonna open up, rotate open as far as you can, and then come back, close the book. So as you open, follow your hand with your eyes. Your neck is highly related to your thoracic spine. So if you rotate your neck, that's gonna help your upper back rotate as well. So I like to inhale to open, exhale to close. So this one you can do about 10 to 15 on each side, just until you're feeling pretty loose. And this also helps your shoulder blade mobility on your rib cage. It'll kind of slide back as you open, and then come forward as you close. So from the front view, lay on your side. You can use a pillow under your head if you need it, and then just open up. You may not be able to touch the ground, that's fine. And you will probably have one side that's tighter than the other. But just open up, breathe. If you want to stay out here, take a couple breaths. Allow it to sink into the rotation even more, that's great. Or you can just do those steady rotations. Keep those shoulders away from your ears and only go as far as you can while still being comfortable. This shouldn't be painful. Okay, so that's to work on thoracic rotation. So to work on some extension, we're going to use our foam roller. If you don't have a foam roller, you can use a rolled up towel or a rolled up yoga mat. But you're going to place the foam roller perpendicular to your spine. And you're going to start just below your shoulder blades, not down into your lower back, but still staying in your mid back here. So support your head with your hands. You're not pulling on it, just supporting. Get your abs activated, and then lean back over the foam roller. So really important that you have your abs activated here, so you're not just arching from your lower back. You want to get that arching from your mid back. So a few here. And then walk yourself down the foam roller and lean back over the foam roller. This is working on your thoracic extension. Thoracic extension over your foam roller. You can walk your way down. So you can work your way all the way from below your shoulder blades to just below the base of your neck. So at each level, just do a few backwards leans here, get that extension in that upper back. And if you find one area that's really tight, you can spend a little more time there. And you can play with the angle of your elbows too. You can either have them out to the side or kind of more in front of your face here. So again, if you don't have a foam roller, you can use, even pillows will work if you stack enough pillows. Or you can roll up a towel or a yoga mat like this, and then use that to lean over. It probably won't be as intense as the foam roller, but it's another good option. Okay, so another option for the thoracic rotation. If you really don't like lying on your side, we can also do it against a wall. So you're going to get in a half kneeling position here. I just put a mat down here so I can kneel on the ground. The closer knee to the wall is going to be the one that's in front. And so we can take that same position, and then the hand that's closer to the wall is going to rotate up and over. So you're going to just rotate through that upper and mid back. And again, this one you can do about 10 to 15 repetitions here. And you can even use your hand on the wall behind you to press a little bit more into that rotation. Another variation is you can also just open up here. So same position, you're just using the hand farther away from the wall to do essentially that same open book motion. So you can do about 10 to 15 of those on either side. Show you the other direction. So your front knee is against the wall. And just open up. Same thing, turn your head as you turn your upper back. And you can use your hand here, push on the wall, get a little bit more into that rotation, and then bring it back. And again, you can also do the open book this way in half kneeling if you're not very comfortable lying on your side. So we got some options there. So the next one is an overhead wall lat stretch. This is also going to be using the wall. So one foot in front of the other just to help activate the core and keep those hips stable. You can either do palms flat on the wall or palms facing each other. I'll start with my palms flat. And you're just going to sink your chest towards the ground and towards the wall. You should feel good lat stretch here, kind of stretching the underside of that arm. And again, it's important to keep your core activated here so you're not just arching through your low back. So really keep that core activated. And you can do palms facing each other for a more intense stretch. This one you can hold for about 30 seconds. We're trying to get a prolonged muscle stretch here. If that's too much, you can kind of pulse in and out of it gently. And remember to breathe. Okay? So the next one is going to be a sleeper stretch. So we have a standing and a side lying option. So the standing option is going to be, you stand right next to a wall. You're going to have your elbow about 90 degrees and shoulder about 90 degrees. Keep your shoulder away from your ear, don't let it hunch up. And you're just going to gently push down on your wrist. So this is not one to crank hard on. You have to be really gentle with this. You should feel stretch over the top and in the back of your shoulder. And this one, just breathe into it. This is another one you can hold for about 30 seconds. Or if it's too much, you can gently pulse in and out of it. But again, do not crank hard on this one. So the sideline option is you can come down to the ground, get that shoulder and elbow bent about 90 degrees, set your shoulder away from your ear. You can use a pillow under your head if you need it, and then gently press down on your wrist to get an internal rotation at the shoulder. So this range of motion is really important, especially for pretty much every stroke. We need some internal rotation at the shoulder, especially that freestyle pull, that catch and pull. So you want to make sure you have the mobility for this, but make sure that this is a really nice gentle stretch. So again, here you can pulse gently in and out of it, or you can just hold a prolonged stretch. Go for about 30 seconds here, okay? So for our next stretch, it's going to be a bench lat stretch. You're going to need either, I'm using an ottoman here. You can use your couch, you can use your bed. You can even stand next to a counter instead of doing it kneeling, and do this with your elbows on the counter. So you're going to put your elbows on the bench or whatever you're using. And then again, just like with the overhead lat stretch, keep your core activated to avoid arching through your lower back. And you're just going to sink your chest towards the floor. And breathe. The tendency here is you're going to want to shrug your shoulders up. So try and slide them down your back. And sink your chest gently towards the floor. You should be feeling a pretty intense lat stretch here on the underside of that arm. So again, you can do this standing with your elbows on a counter or a table. But this is another one you want to hold for about 30 seconds, get a nice prolonged muscle stretch. You can also pulse in and out of it if it's too much. But just try and relax and breathe into the stretch here. Release those lats to give you some more overhead mobility. This is also going to work a little bit on your thoracic mobility here too. So really keep that core activated. Don't let your lower back arch. We're trying to get it from your mid-back. So go ahead and release that. So we've gone over some overhead and shoulder stretches for the mid-back and the shoulder. So we're going to get into a little bit of the legs here. This first one is going to be a Cobra to Downward Dog. So if you think about your dolphin kick, you really have to connect your upper body to your lower body. And so we're really going to need a lot of that core. So you're going to start in a plank position and then sink your hips down into Cobra. Unlock your elbows, make sure they're a little bit bent. Open up your chest and then use your core muscles to shift back into a downward dog. So this is a bit of a dynamic hamstring stretch. So you're getting your hamstrings and your calves here. And also, it's going to work on your overhead shoulder stability. So keep pushing the ground away from you in this downward dog. And then shift back into Cobra. Unlock your elbows. Inhale. Exhale back into the downward dog. You should feel that your core has to work here to shift between these two positions, just like in a dolphin kick. So back into the Cobra. So for each of these, you can either stay here and hold for about 30 seconds for a muscle stretch, or you can shift back and forth between the Cobra and Downward Dog for a dynamic stretch and working on muscle stability, your shoulder stability throughout this range of motion here, especially getting overhead. So you choose which one's right for you, or you can do both. You can start out with the moving back and forth like this, and then maybe at the end, just hold a nice stretch for those hamstrings and make your shoulders stabilize here. Okay, so the last one is going to work on that breaststroke kick. A lot of people breaststroke kick really wide, but then your thigh is blocking all the water. So really, we want to whip your ankle around your knee. So keep those knees pretty close together and just whip your foot out to the side. But this requires hip internal rotation, which is sometimes really tight. So the last stretch is going to be a frog adductor stretch, and we're going to work on that hip internal rotation. So down on the ground, shins parallel to each other out to the side, and your feet are going to be out to the side. You can either stay on your hands or come down into your elbows and then sink back into the stretch. So really, this one can be pretty intense. So you can pulse in and out of it here, or if you can handle it, you can just sink back, hold the stretch for about 30 seconds. You should really feel it in your hips and inner thighs, stretching out those adductors and working into that hip internal rotation, which is really important for that breaststroke kick. So from the side, shins parallel, feet out to the side, and you can either rock back on your hands or rock back on your elbows or just hold it here and breathe. So to come out of it, you can walk your feet closer together, and then walk your knees closer together, and then come out of it, okay? So that's it. Those are my mobility stretches for swimmers, mostly focusing on the shoulder. We got a couple bonus ones for the hips and legs in there. So I hope this helps you feel more loose and limber in the pool and really get into that overhead range, especially with that freestyle pull without so much pinching in the shoulder, okay? So thanks for watching, and see you next time.